are we starting this?
Back in the 90s, I was in a very famous TV show.
Hello. We are gonna talk about BoJack.
Yeah, so this is kind of different from, well, not for you. You talk about BoJack a lot.
I talk about BoJack a lot. You talk about BoJack a lot, but
yeah,
together
just not
we
in
have
a
not
microphone.
talked about BoJack into a microphone and put it.
I was gonna say we talk about BoJack together a lot.
Yes, we do. We do. So a new season of BoJack.
Whoop.
You know, always exciting. Another year, another new season.
Another binge watching session where you just
all
cry.
in one day and destroying you.
Well, I really do like that they're splitting up into separate seasons because it feels like it can get more limelight with certain episodes. Yeah. And it seems like how they're progressing with the story, like where they ended it or where they split it up seems to really work well. Yeah. Thematically.
Yeah, I really like this decision to do two separate releases and, you know, not even that far apart. Like, I was expecting it to be like next summer when we got the next part. Yeah. So I was really excited about that. And it's longer. It's, 16 episodes total instead of 12. So I'm just thrilled about this whole thing. Yeah, I am too. Love it, even though it's the final season, which is sad. I'm also kind of ready for it to be the final season.
I am too. I feel like because the whole thing with BoJack, I was reading like the interview with I can never remember his last name.
Raphael Bob Waksberg.
Yeah, and he was like kind of saying like each season Netflix would be like, okay, yeah, like keep making this, but and he was like, hey, if you guys don't want any more, let us know, like wrapping it up, because so we can wrap it up like in a good narrative way. So like this season they're like, hey,
saying that to Netflix.
Yeah. So and I mean like it has felt kind of like dragged out almost because BoJack is in that cycle.
Yep, I get that criticism, especially from last season 5, right? Mm-hmm. That it kind of felt like, okay, we're doing this shit again. Like, every season kind of seemed like, okay, we're making progress, and then it would just be like undone in the next season. Yeah. And I think that's important, like, narratively to what the show like is trying to say. Yeah. But I'm also but it's also frustrating to watch. Yeah, you can only do that so often. Like we get the point now, and we need some kind of resolution now. Yeah. So speaking of, I guess, resolutions and all of that, it like the season begins right off the bat with a flashback to Sarah Lynn's death. Yeah. So first off, I wasn't expecting that, so that just sucker punched me. Punched you right in the face out of the gate.
Right, I was like, like BoJack's entire like monologue to Sarah Lynn has been playing through my head for 3 years. Why would you do that to me?
Yeah, it's rough, and I thought it was kind of interesting because actually one thing that I liked and about the way that they handled her death was that they never, before now showed the like immediate aftermath. Yeah. And I kind of like that because then it's up to the audience to kind of imagine like how painful it would have been, and we only get kind of these few glimpses in the previous seasons that like, okay, like he went to the hospital with her. Yeah. And like all of that was kind of so heartbreaking to like hear without seeing it. Yeah. But I don't think that that showing a little bit of this flashback actually like
takes that away.
Yeah. I think it still felt impactful and everything. Yeah, I agree, because like I know in season 4, one of the lines that always stuck with me is when BoJack it's at the Sugarman's Palace episode when he goes to the hardware store and the girls are like, you were there when Sarah Lynn died, weren't you? You were the one who called the ambulance. Did you cry? And I was trying to remember what one of those specific instances was, and that's exactly
that. And even last season, this kind of goes into it thematically but Diane brings up Sarah Lynn's death, where it's like, everything affects you negatively more so than anybody else, and BoJack's like, yeah, it does, and she's like, oh, even Sarah Lynn's death? How were you the victim of that? Yeah. But
it's always just cast a large, shadow over this whole show, and I like that they've never really let it go, because it is a huge thing. I mean, it is. It's something that BoJack has like yet to like really face until this season. And same with the Penny thing. Like it's all BoJack. BoJack. You don't even know. You're about to get #MeToo.
Well, honestly,
we'll save that for the end. The end of this, and I guess we are gonna do 3 separate videos because if we made a video about this entire season, it would be like 8 hours long. Yeah, it would be. So we're gonna split it up. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the first 3 episodes. Yep. So going into the first episode.
So it feels like a theme that's kind of going through this season, or at least the first part, is BoJack accepting, like, there's kind of this idea where we were kind of talking about it in season 3, was it? Where Todd cusses him out and says, your parents aren't to blame, you're the problem. So BoJack is like, he internalized that. He's like, I'm at fault. He's trying to take responsibility in this whole first part of the season. He's like, I'm a celebrity, so I can never be called out. I can never take responsibility for my actions. Yeah. And it goes directly to when it cuts to Sarah Lynn's parents being like mourning her, and, you know, obviously her mom is a piece of shit. Her stepdad, it's very much strongly implied, is abusive sexually to her and says it's no one's fault. Right. And like the cop that talks to him, like, you know, doesn't really want to know any details. He's like, oh, yeah, this was kind of bound to happen. And that's very much the reaction that everyone has, is like, oh, this just happened. It's no one's fault. But BoJack really, like, he kind of wants to be punished for it, because that's the only way he can, like, move on. Yeah, and, like, alleviate his own guilt is if he's blamed for it kind of more, like, by other people and, like, externally. Right. Like, yeah, having to work through that himself is, like, so painful and not something that he's really equipped, like, to do, so he needs to be blamed for it. Right, and the thing is, it's like, when you think about it, it's really, well, first off, it's sad that, like, everyone's like, oh, this was bound to happen. Yeah. And then it's like, you think about it, like, Sarah Lynn was doing so good right before BoJack called him, and he even says, she saw me as a safe place. Right. And, you know, it shows, like, in a different episode, how, like, just like how his parents left out a bottle of liquor, he leaves out a bottle of liquor, and Sarah starts on that road, so he does what his parents did to him. Oh, shit. To Sarah Lynn. Yeah. Fuck. I know. Okay. So, like, and he's kind of realizing... Yeah. I think that's the thing BoJack's been trying to run from his whole life, is he doesn't want to be his parents, but... Yeah. He inherited their trauma, that's and... Yeah. But, we'll start about that again. Show, man, yeah. So he's immediately like, I need to make us different. I need to make a change starting now. We've made 2 Barry references so far. And it's like been 7 minutes. And then he immediately starts drinking with the, background. Yeah, I just thought that was like, that was heart-wrenching. And this whole, like, episode was really very much focused on his, like, history of, you know, alcoholism. And... oh, it's so good. I also really love the fake out opening credits. Oh my god, I screamed. That was so good. Yeah. So, like, I have this whole, we'll talk about the opening next, when we talk about next episode. Yeah, the actual opening, But just, like, this whole episode has this idea of, like, the fake out opening going out with a film burning up. At first I thought it was like a fire. And that made me think of Beatrice's Alzheimer's. But then I realized, it's a film burning up. It's a film running out. So it's like, Jenny made a whole video that's great that you should watch about how, like, BoJack, similar to Rebecca and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, like, views their lives as, like, a musical or, like, a movie. Yeah. And, like, I think this season is really BoJack finally realizing he can't see his life as a movie anymore, because it's real life, and he has to... Yeah, and that's been really harming him for a long time, to try and... you know, try and fit his life and all the people in it into, like, a narrative story. Yeah, exactly. But he's more complex than that. The people around him are more complex than that. Yeah. So, yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, so kind of taking out the opening credits kind of really shows that of, like... Yeah, exactly. That, like, you're yes, exactly. Taking out the opening credits, it's like, this isn't a TV show. This is BoJack's real life, and he has to deal with that, too. And then they use the same effect, which... with each of the flashbacks throughout this episode as well. I'll talk about that more when we get back into that line, but I like how they do that. So he's in rehab. Just a couple jokes. I really like the horse therapy joke. Yeah, I do too. Smile. I like Dr. Champ a lot as, like, a character. And Rissa noticed that the Ant Queen from, like, the Underground episode is at rehab, which is hilarious. I didn't catch it if it was, like, the actual Ant Queen or like one of the ants, the Ant Queen that RuPaul voices, or it's one of the ants from, like, the fracking episode. Yeah. But I thought that was funny. And then I really like this whole montage where BoJack, he's obviously detoxing as well, like so it's really hard at first, but when he sees a photo of Sarah Lynn, he then, you know, makes more of an effort. That picture of Dan France, make an effort holding a gun. That's Diana BoJack. It really is. And I think this is kind of the first time where something like this happens, where BoJack actually takes it as like motivation to move on, rather than
usually that would just make him feel worse.
Exactly.
Like, oh, it's hopeless. I'm gonna end up like her, no matter. Yeah,
right.
And it's really interesting that it's like, because you could see him easily being like, oh, you know, Sarah Lynn did this and it didn't help her. Like, she still ended up dying. But for him to take that and be like, no, I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna try and change this.
And going off of that, he like sees her and is like, oh, it didn't work for her. And I think that's when he realizes, well, it did. I didn't work for her. So, and again, kind of going back to taking responsibility. So then, with the when wasn't the first time I drank.
Yeah, so he says that in their, you know, rehab circle, and it's kind of just a one-off, you know, joke at first, but then it becomes like so heart-wrenching as the episode goes on, because the way it's, you know, structured is there's these 4, you know, flashbacks. And each time you think like, oh, this is the first time that you drink, this is the beginning of the alcohol problem, but then each time is like progressively younger
and younger. I know, it's just
it's so good,
right? And going off of that, it's just like it kind of shows how repressed BoJack is. Where we were kind of talking about this before, like the thing with him internalizing what Todd says, like, it's you, man, it's you. And so I feel like BoJack is very much full, it's either my responsibility or it isn't.
Yeah, and he can't mix the two.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's either my parents were shitty and it's their fault, and he says something later on in the episode to that extent, or it's my fault and I'm shitty. He can't see it as like a mixture of the two. Yeah,
he really struggles to have like a nuanced view of like anything.
Right, exactly.
Probably going back to he just wants to see life as a happy family sitcom where nothing is more complicated than that.
Right, exactly, because he can't view his life as more complicated than that. And I think that also goes to show how well the show is written. Yeah. That these characters are so nuanced, and they kind of go like, we're not like other shows where it's not so nuanced and
and yet it never feels overly mean, which I like.
It doesn't.
It's never like, sitcoms are stupid. Like, it still kind of shows like the role that kind of media, like, you know, can have, and that it can be a comfort, and I really like that, because I just can't really handle media that's like mean and vindictive anymore. I'm like, get out of here.
I totally agree. Because I mean, it even says like in one of the, like, I think it's like the first, no, it was in the Halloween episode last season, right?
Oh yeah, when Diane said how much it meant to her when she was growing up. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and like Diane, who, like, if anyone, like, you would think would look down the most on, like, you know, a sitcom that's not very intellectual, she's like, no, it's still, I still think
exactly.
It's important. So love that.
Right. So I skipped over.
So kind of looping back around a little bit, I mean, he doesn't really buy into the idea that he's powerless over his addiction. Yeah. Like, he wants to take responsibility, but sort of in, like, a self-punishing way.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of interesting because, like, as Champ says, Dr. Champ, whatever we're going to call it.
I love him so much.
Dr. Champ. Like, he says, like, oh, that's the first of the 12 steps. And it's kind of interesting, like, he's getting so stuck on this first step that he can't admit, like, okay, there's something beyond my control here. Yeah. So it's kind of stopping his progress, because he can't, like, let go of that idea that, like, he's the problem.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just BoJack is so...
Which is such an ongoing issue for him, because if he ever just accepted that, like, that he was not just, like, a bad person, he could actually make progress, but because he's so, like, you know, hung up on, like, I'm the problem, I'm what's wrong, he could never actually get better.
The thing is, like, BoJack is so stunted, and, you know, I don't think he had an idea what a family was supposed to be until he actually started horsing around. Because I don't think he had that reference, and, like, a lot of characters don't really mention how his parents were straight up abusive. Like, Princess Carolyn says one line in The Best Thing You Ever Had, where it's like, even due to your shitty parents or whatever. Yeah.
Well, because I think that BoJack doesn't really maybe let people know the extent
just like,
of what happened to him.
Right, like episode 2 of the whole series is him like,
lying to
how was your dad? Irrelevant. You were quiet for 5 minutes.
Uneventful. Yeah, because he doesn't really want people to see that. Because I think he doesn't want to acknowledge it, as we've been saying.
Yeah, it's like, it's a defense mechanism.
And I think he knows, but like, you know, recognizing it is It's painful.
Yeah.
So the first flashback is probably, close to the beginning of Horsing Around, so he's probably in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
And, like, Sharona gives him vodka to loosen him up for, like, an on-camera kiss.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like this, like, ongoing theme of kind of showing, like, the reasons why he drinks.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting, like, either... And him probably realizing there, like, it can help, you know, soothe his anxiety or his nerves. It can maybe even make him a better actor.
Yeah.
Like, oof, yeah.
Oof. The thing that reminded me of, though, was, like, going back to the Halloween episode last season, is, like, around that same time, he's like, whoa, I hope somebody didn't expect the punch. I don't drink, but he still got drunk at that night. So, like, and that kind of shows he either, like, sometimes gets drunk on accident due to other people. But he tries to stay away from it probably because of his childhood and his upbringing.
Yeah. And I do kind of get that impression that he probably could recognize from the first few times that he drank, like, oh, this could be a problem.
Yeah, which is
because that's something I think you could immediately tell is like, okay, this is an issue that I might have to deal with at some point. And then
I'll put a pin in that.
We'll just put a pin in that.
BoJack said for 40 years.
Yeah, we'll just return to this. And then he probably tried to, you know, stay away from it a little bit for his, you know, teenage years and into his 20s until he was on Horsing Around, and then at some point it just kind of, you know, spiraled out of control and kind of built up. But I really like that idea that it was like the slow build over time, you know, when wasn't my first drink?
Right, yeah. It seems like it looked like it kind of barreled down after Herb got fired.
Yeah, probably.
Because
then he had all that guilt to
and he had it shows later he has the flask, he has alcohol in his dressing room.
Oh, right, because that's with
that's after
Sarah Lynn.
Yeah, that's when Sarah Lynn, that's after he was talking to the guy. But anyway, so Jameson.
Yeah. So she's an interesting addition to this episode.
So we were kind of talking, and we feel like a defense mechanism for BoJack is he projects his own life onto people, and that's the only way he feels like he can, like, process things maybe or move forward. So he definitely projects onto Jameson. She's like, they didn't care about me until this new baby came around. And he's like, oh, your parents are neglectful just like mine.
Yeah. So he assumes that she, like, you know, also has shitty parents, only to find out that her father is probably, like, the most supportive dad ever.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to, realize that, I don't know.
Well, I guess just like...
not everything's that simple.
Exactly. Or, again, not everything's that's nuanced. I really loved how they did that build-up, because when I was rewatching it, Jameson's one line being like, I was sober for most of last year, and I was like, oh, because you were pregnant.
She was pregnant. Yeah, that's such a good catch.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shit. And I thought that was really good. And then, like, this is kind of jumping forward, but when BoJack does go to Jameson's house and he's like, you were just a kid, why do you have to take responsibility for, like, your parents' actions or your dad's actions or whatever it is?
Yeah, and he's just totally projecting his own stuff, but he can't really see it that way unless he sees another person kind of dealing with the same thing. He's not really willing to forget or to, like, extend that forgiveness to himself, but, like, when it's someone else.
But when it's someone else, he can,
He can kind of see it maybe a little bit more nuanced.
Yeah, exactly. That's how he processes things, and I think it kind of relates to, like, characters he plays.
Being an actor.
Yeah, exactly. He can't process things unless he's playing in a character role.
He kind of needs to...
That's the whole thing with Filbert. He couldn't process anything until he was playing as Filbert.
Yeah, you're right.
Fuck.
Oh, fuck. We cracked it, lads.
We cracked it. But yeah...
So the second flashback is at a high school party, and I really like this scene because it kind of shows that he has this mean streak that's like so, like, not far below the surface. Like, he just instantly goes from being this kind of nice playboy, he drinks, and all of a sudden he's just, like, ripping on everybody for attention.
Would you say he went from, what's that joke that's like,
on the edge of my seat for what you're gonna say.
What's that joke that's like, went from somebody your father wants to see to your daughter calls me daddy too. What's that? What? You know what I'm talking about?
I really don't.
It's...
Let us know in the comments what joke Marissa's trying.
Let us know if you have any idea what the fuck is that meme where it's like you're all polite went from yes sir to your daughter calls me daddy too. That's what it is. That's what it was.
Okay.
That's the joke I was thinking of. It doesn't really mix anymore. Anyway, but yeah, and I think it really shows that BoJack is starved for attention, and he's such a person where he feeds off of the others' happiness and acceptance of him, where he needs attention and he's always performing, hence being an actor.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, it kind of shows those, character traits that have always been there.
Yeah.
Just interesting. Oh, and then the kind of ongoing, symbolism with the like planetarium sky as a symbol for kind of like the lure of like alcohol and like the temptation, but also like where it will end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and, exactly.
And like the dark side, I guess.
And I think like going back to that is like I was watching this other video and like all the Easter eggs in the new opening. He was saying how the planetarium itself is like a key location. Like that's where Herb tells BoJack that they're doing Horsing Around. That's where season 1 ends, and of course that's where Sarah Lynn dies. And he was saying like I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the whole series ends.
Ooh, yeah. Go off.
I still don't think it's gonna be a downer ending.
Yeah.
But with how the opening is. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. Put a pin in that.
Come back to it. And then, okay. So then there's this, 5-way call between like the main characters, which I just thought was super cute to have. Just to have in the first episode, because obviously everyone just wants to see them together, and like it just made me smile so much to see all of them.
I noticed like Todd is interacting more so with BoJack this season too, which I thought was really nice.
Yeah.
Because I know they like kind of not reconciled completely last season, but
yeah, it's nice to see that, because like he also is just going to become like a little bit too estranged from like the plot if he's not talking to BoJack
Todd
at all. Yeah, Todd.
Yeah.
Because like he still needs something to do, and they like, but he, like he's the only character that like broke up with BoJack in that way.
Yeah, you're right. None of the other main characters,
fuck to BoJack,
right?
And yet is still around.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of a tricky situation for Todd.
Wait.
Because it was Herb, and obviously his dad, Charlotte,
Todd, BoJack himself.
Yeah, which is kind of a weird
oxymoron. And then Gina.
And Gina. Although Gina's a little bit. She will be a little bit around later on. But so it's kind of an interesting situation for Todd.
Yeah.
And they just gave the best tongue twister to Princess Carolyn in that scene as well. Like, poor Amy Sedaris should have never said that she hates doing tongue twisters.
I really, I'll talk more about it next episode, but I love where it's like, you're saying, and they're dun 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 dun. My favorite Amy Sedaris tongue twister was in the Halloween episode where it's like, I'm just waiting around to be adorned, adornedly adorned, no more. Whatever it is.
It's so good.
I love it.
Then the third flashback is BoJack at maybe like age 12 or 13 or something. Are you laughing because of the way that I wrote this in my notes?
BoJack getting liquored up by his dad to stay quiet. Why does it sound like the opening of a porno?
Stop, don't say that.
Baby BoJack getting liquored up.
He gets liquored up by his dad to stay quiet. I thought it says horrifying.
Baby BoJack got liquored.
He got liquored up.
Baby BoJack gets liquored up by his dad to stay quiet.
Stop making fun of my
More
notes.
at 11.
More at 11.
Horrifying.
Horrifying news.
Horrifying news.
Yeah, so it's like, this is a super yikes one. Just the way,
Did you know Butterscotch Horseman's a piece of shit?
Did you know that he's abusive?
Did you know? BoJack's dad was abusive.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then anyway, so then that flashback leads into the thing that we talked about a little bit already, where he was like, you were just a kid, why do you have to be responsible for all the ways he screwed you up?
Right. And I mean, there's nothing else to say about that, really. Just Butterscotch Horseman was a piece of shit. May he burn in hell, really.
Amen.
Amen.
And I also like what he says, to Jameson, like once he...
Oh, yeah.
Once he finds out that her dad is actually, like a good dad and cares about her and is watching out for her, you know, he says, like, I wish I had someone, when I was your age who cared enough to put me in rehab. Yeah. And it's just like, ooh, wig, because he probably knew, I mean, like, when he was... That's interesting, too, because, like, when he was her age, which I'm assuming is, like, early 20s at most, if not, like, 18.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, she's, like, in high school, I don't know.
She seemed very, like, either 18, 19, 20.
Somewhere around there. Like, like, at that point, he didn't have, like, a full-blown, like, alcohol problem, but he, you know, he probably still, realized that he needed help, and he didn't have anyone that would have done that for him.
Especially, like, as an up-and-coming actor, like, just trying to get his role. And that's kind of, like, the, what's to say, normality. Is doing a bunch of drugs, is drinking so he probably...
the culture.
Exactly. So he probably, like, kind of found himself delving into that culture, even though he knew he should stay away from it. Yeah. But then it's, like, that need of I can't drink versus I need to be seen and appreciated.
Right. Yeah.
Look at me, everybody.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking a little bit who he is when he, you know, when he does drink.
Yeah.
But then also not. It's two sides of the same coin there.
BoJack, similarly to Mr. Peanut Butter, just really wants attention. And that's it.
Don't we all?
Because he never got it from his parents.
Yeah. What are Mr. Peanut Butter's parents like?
Well, they're dead. We know that.
They were sent to the farm upstate.
Mr. Peanut Butter is like in his 50s and he still believes that. That was a very funny joke.
Then to end the episode, we get the final and most heartbreaking flashback where BoJack at maybe age like 4 or 5, 6, like, you know, takes a sip of vodka and his parents are just passed out in the living room. And he just curls up with his mom on the couch. It's like, oh, God.
It's so painful. And
He's
it's
like, this is how you relate to people.
Well, and then somebody brought up, like, it's exactly like the quote in Futura where it's like, all three of us were drowning.
Yeah.
Like, together. And that kind of brings into the fact that, like, BoJack was, like, doomed from the start. Like, his parents just dragged him down automatically. Yeah. Which is really sad because he didn't grow up with love as a child.
Which, between the, like, you know, genetic...
between the genetic makeup and just like
of, you know, alcoholism and how he was raised is like he had the deck stacked against him a little bit. One
thing I do love is I love that baby BoJack has like a little sailor outfit.
Oh, I know.
It always has cracked me up. I thought it was always very funny. Like, why are you wearing that? What the fuck?
He's so cute.
He is cute. He has like little eyelashes, and they're like, "We'll learn to do a very squeaky voice."
I have the deepest voice.
Yeah, he's like, just get a child, and they're like, "No." Yeah, they're like stuck on a helium balloon. They're like, "Why don't you get a child to play him?" He's like, "No, it must be you."
It's funny if it's you.
It's funny if it's
like,
you.
You do an entire episode and voice all the characters yourself, and he's like, I guess.
Yeah.
Will I win an Emmy for it? No.
No, but if you won't get nominated, God damn, it's just like the Rick and Morty episode. So yeah, that's episode 1.
That's episode 1. Episode 2 is mostly a Princess Carolyn episode.
Good.
She deserves it.
Good.
It starts a little bit with Mr. Peanut Butter and just how his guilt is eating him alive.
Oh, I thought that's when Mr. Peanut Butter's guilt eating him out.
No, it's eating him alive.
Mr. Peanut Butter's guilt. Oh. Eating him out. Okay. Penny-wiser. Okay.
Yeah, he just can't be alone or like without a distraction because he's just gonna like die of guilt, which is kind of funny. Okay, and we need to talk about the opening now.
Holy shit.
It'll be a doozy. So,
all right, let's go.
Whomst else screamed audibly and loudly when you saw that the opening was like different and like the ways that it was different? Because like the opening hasn't changed in any major sense. Like they've added new characters, they've changed a little bit about the settings, but this was like the biggest change.
This is made. Just like thematically and just everything is changed. Like from like BoJack waking up in his horsing around attire and it just going through the years. The one thing that automatically became apparent to me is Unlike before, well, first off, there's not a party scene in this opening.
Yeah, he is sober the entire time.
He's sober, and his eyes are moving around, and he's completely aware, and he looks more and more guilty as the years progress.
Yeah, especially when, Herb and Sarah Lynn are looking at him, his eyes kind of, dart around.
Yeah.
With guilt.
So, the other thing I noticed is, Sarah Lynn, Herb, and Beatrice are the only characters besides BoJack who are, in focus that we know. But, even there's, those characters who are in, the BoJack Kills, but they're, dead.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, Sarah Lynn, Herb, and his mom are all dead.
And they're all looking.
They're looking directly at BoJack, which is crazy.
Yeah. What does it mean?
What does it mean? And then...
It's the only people that see him clearly.
I see you.
I see you.
Ah! Well, didn't Herb say something like, I see you for who you exactly are?
Oh, fuck. We cracked it, lads.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I'm sure there's something with Sarah Lynn. Well, because... there's that whole scene when, BoJack and Sarah Lynn, I think it's mostly BoJack that's saying it, but he's we're the only two people that know, what we went through, and, we know each other better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, these are three people that he's super, intimately connected to.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're all dead.
And they're all dead,
obvious.
and it's all... I mean, Beatrice obviously was gonna die anyway, but...
Right, as was Herb, because he had cancer.
Yeah, but it's it's also all characters, Sarah Lynn directly was his responsibility. She died too young, but, Beatrice and Herb are characters he never got to...
He has unfinished business.
With. Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
And
he can never
finish it.
Unlike, maybe that's kind of what it's going to be about. It's he's lost his chance with these characters, but he still has a chance, with... the other characters that are still alive to make things right.
Yeah, which kind of goes back in the previous... it's this episode where he's I'm making a list of people I need to apologize to, and he kind of says to Princess Carolyn.
Yeah.
My apologies are never enough, and I'm sorry about that too, or something like that. But yeah, so it all leads back to the planetarium, and when he falls, it's just so... striking, just when he falls back in the pool and it blacks out, but his eyes are wide open, and that's the last light you see. It's so haunting, and it's just that makes me think that's where it's gonna end, is death. But
I know it does kind of,
it really does
give some more credence to the death theory.
It really does, because I mean the whole show has this imagery and this whole idea of drowning.
Yeah.
And of course that can go with both alcoholism and just BoJack's own depression. And there's
just a lot of super literal drowning references.
Yeah, there's a lot of literal drowning references littered throughout the entire show, and whether or not that's where BoJack ends, because he always floats down to the bottom while other people watch. Yeah,
and that idea that this is something that, someone else on the internet said about the opening. Maybe I'll find it and link to the post, but it was he's still sinking even though he's sober, which is kind of haunting, that it wasn't enough it wasn't soon enough. Yeah, just similar to how he couldn't reconnect with Herb or Beatrice or Sarah Lynn, he ran out of time. He's still separated, and
right. Anyway,
Princess Carolyn.
That hurts.
Yeah.
Princess Carolyn. So, something this show does really well is, in the recent seasons, is showing exactly how a character's mental state is through visual impacts. Things with
through really creative animation.
Yeah, exactly. Taking really good use of the animation style, just in Piece of Shit, showing BoJack's anxiety and his self-loathing, and then in Time's Arrow, just Beatrice's Alzheimer's. And then in this episode with Princess Carolyn's stress, just feeling so
the way
thin.
It kind of builds up.
And it builds up to, and it just shows these silhouettes of herself doing everything. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and the sound design's really good.
Yeah, the sound design's good. It slaps.
Yeah, the beat slaps.
Yeah, it slaps.
I'm sorry, PC, but this does slap.
Hey, can you play PC's breakdown? He's what? In the club?
And the kind of like, or one of the like, through lines of this episode is that she is trying to name her child.
Oh yeah.
Which
and Princess Carolyn Project.
And there was just a funny moment when she was asking
BoJack.
Yeah, she's asking BoJack about a name, and he's like, you just shouldn't ask me about anything.
Yeah. I thought that was a funny line. Yeah, and they all start with R's.
Or a lot of them does. I kind of said that as we were watching, and then there were a few that Diane suggested that didn't start with R's, but I feel like
but everything PC suggested
starts with R, and then she ends up with Ruthie, of course, at the end, which I just love.
I thought that was such a good circle back.
Yeah. So a reference, obviously, to her
episode,
her
Ruthie.
imaginary great granddaughter who she imagines. To kind of reassure her that everything will be okay. So I really like that. Yeah, that's very sweet.
I like that a lot.
And it's also very funny when she shows up at rehab and she just looks like a junkie who needs help. And she gets help, and it's
good for her.
She deserves a rest.
Are those all needles? Yeah, for my daughter.
They're my baby's needles.
I really I don't know, I can't remember. Yeah, no, it's like this scene where she thinks Peanut Butter's calling her, but it's BoJack, and I really love PC's and BoJack's interactions.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, they're so sweet.
Especially it's post him firing PC from being his manager or agent for the final time. Their interactions are very funny and nice. I don't know, I just really like them. But yeah,
they still have a good relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny when Mr. Peanut Butter references that meme of the guy walking with his girlfriend and looking at the other girl.
That is a very sad meme.
It's just hilarious.
Yeah. PB also projects to his issues onto other things, but it's memes.
Yeah. He and BoJack are very similar, where he just projects his issues onto other people, like the guy at rehab who was cheating on his wife. And then BoJack kind of recognizes what's going on and kind of figures it out, where he's like, I think either you or what
Doug.
Does he say? You or Doug? Who's Doug?
That's the joke. He's like, it's either you or Doug is cheating on Pickles.
Oh, the guy. Yeah. Okay, the guy at the rehab. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Pickles. So he kind of picks up on what's going on there, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Todd is briefly in this episode. That guy's just constantly failing.
I love
upward.
it. Is Untitled Princess Carolyn Project something that makes a lot of noise? Yeah, she does.
She does. Does it have legs?
Yeah, she has two legs. I love it. He's just so honest. But going back to BoJack and Mr. Peanut Butter real quick, it's just how he says you think you're protecting people from your toxicity by pushing them away, and this whole episode kind of has a B plot of BoJack pushing people away. He doesn't tell PC about the friends and family visits because he doesn't want to burden her anymore, and he doesn't really want to burden other people with his problems that he's been doing his whole life, and he realizes that this is such a stark contrast to in the very first episode where BoJack is begging PC to stay or something, and he's he can't be by himself, and he has a panic attack that sends him to the ER.
God, you're right. Yeah, and now gross. He's I have to be by myself because he kind of wants to punish himself still and cut off those ties and thinks he's protecting people.
Right.
But he does have people that just want to help him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's another theme in the show is even though he's fucked over Todd and PC and Diane and everybody, and he's an asshole to Mr. Peanut Butter consistently, and they kind of even get a good moment later on in the season. It just shows that he does have people who genuinely care, and that's so foreign to him.
Yeah.
But
it's nice.
Yeah, and then going into him and PC's phone conversation, my apologies are meaningless at this point. He's I'm even sorry for that, and she's I would have come to your meeting. I still care about you.
Yeah, that's a really nice moment. Because even with all the things that Princess Carolyn has, has going on with her new baby and her work, she still would have made time.
That and him, just BoJack being I know you have a lot of stuff on your plate right now, and I didn't want to burden you, which again is such a growth moment, because before he would be I think Princess Carolyn literally calls him you are a child, I consistently have to help you.
Yeah.
Or I need to always help. Yeah. And just
you always need me. Yeah.
And I think BoJack still kind of internalizes this line. Always stuck with me, but in Best Thing I Never Had, where he's BoJack, you wasted my 30s.
Yeah.
I think he still internalizes that, where he still feels like, yeah, I'm still a burden to you, and I know you have a child now and it's something you really want, and I don't want to get in that way, or like...
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he really struggles with having, like, a normal relationship with anyone.
With women, especially.
Especially with women, but, like, a relationship that's not either completely codependent.
You want a mommy you can stick your dick in and out of.
Most iconic BoJack moment.
She, like, does a hip thrust. You can stick your dick in and out of. He's like, yeah, can't I have both?
Yeah, like, what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, he either needs to spend, like, every waking second with someone and have a super codependent relationship, or, like, never see them.
Yeah, he's extremely codependent in that way. Yeah, I agree.
He can't figure out how to have a more, like, balanced
Yeah, he's very stunted. He doesn't know.
Maybe with Diane, I think at this point they're at a really good place where they communicate frequently, but they're not codependent, because obviously he's like, yeah, I'm moving to Chicago, but that's in a later episode. So.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that there. But yeah, I get that.
I really liked Vanessa Gecko in this episode too.
I did too.
Like her moment with PC where she's like relates her clients to her child.
Yeah.
You know, because Princess Carolyn has always been a really confident agent, and that's the thing that she's
good at,
like really good at.
Yeah.
So it's reassuring for her to think of that as being the same thing, or like a similar thing,
right?
As having a kid, and she's like, okay, I can do that.
And I think that's like a common fear too, is like women who have their babies and they like love them, but they're like, I don't know if I'm in love with my child, and they're terrified of that. I think that's a real. I mean, I don't know. I don't have children, but
I can't personally relate to that, but it feels very real.
It does feel very real, and I just like how Amy Sedaris delivers that entire speech a lot. But
that's really good.
But yeah. I don't know why we spent so many years hating each other. I don't hate you. Do you hate me?
That was so funny. And then, like, this kind of like, that made me think that, like, you know, Vanessa Gecko and Princess Carolyn have a similar relationship as Mr. Peanut Butter and BoJack.
Yeah.
Because, like, Princess Carolyn and BoJack think that the other person hates them, and that they have this kind of rival relationship.
Yeah.
But they don't. Like, Vanessa Gecko and, like, Mr. Peanut Butter actually just kind of admire them.
Yeah.
It's just that they're really upbeat and positive and have that kind of, like, style that can read as, you know, competitive.
Yeah.
Or whatever, but... So I just thought that was kind of a funny thing, like, about this episode, like, drawing that parallel that's now, like, really kind of obvious when I think about it, but I hadn't seen it before.
I hadn't either. Yeah. I really want to go back and rewatch, like, some episodes with Vanessa Gecko.
Yeah.
The one thing I do remember is, like, when she's introduced, like, that episode, they keep mentioning her name, and you're like, it's like one of the first episodes, so you're like, oh, she's gonna be a gecko, and then she comes out and she's a human.
Yeah, that's really
Which
funny.
is a very funny joke. Oh, that's the same episode with What It Is, Banana Bread.
What It Is, Banana Bread. Most iconic BoJack line.
Good job, Princess Carolyn.
So Ruthie at the end, the name of the child, and the only thing that will calm her is tongue twisters.
I love that.
Rest in peace, Amy Sedaris.
I love it. The thing is, though, she says them the best.
Yeah,
she really does.
So yeah, that's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then the episode ends with a really sweet lullaby version of the theme song.
I really like it when they do like the theme song, but it's like different versions. Like they did this, and then I know, like, I think last season or the season before they did like a punk rock version with like a girl covering it, and I really liked it. But the lullaby version's like super really pretty.
I'm trying to remember that. Like, I know they've done this a few times, but I can't really remember.
I can't. Well, there's the back in 2000.
Oh yeah.
And then I think, did they do one for Mr. Peanut Butter too, or? There was like a Mr. Peanut Butter version. No, I'm probably thinking of the 2000s version one.
Yeah.
Back in 2007. Do you think they're gonna do a flashback episode this season? Yeah.
Oh, like next season?
Or yeah.
Like, next part.
They always do like a flashback episode.
Probably.
I kind of thought they were going into it in the one episode that opened with BoJack talking to that guy that's like, and here we are in, I can't remember what year he said, in the 90s or whatever, because that's usually how they open them.
They're like, just so you know.
Right. So maybe they don't, and that was just like their joke, but maybe they will. But yeah. So that
was episode 2.
Yeah, I really liked it. On to episode 3. Diane episode.
Episode 3.
Yay.
All about Diane. I thought this episode did a good job of, like, setting up the new character Guy like very quickly and making me care about their relationship within the span of like not very long.
Yeah, I agree.
And kind of rooting for them. And I was like, oh, that was good. That was effective. It was very cute that apparently they do like the, oh no, there's only one bed at like every hotel room, just as like an ongoing joke / like funny foreplay.
It's cute. I liked it. It was funny.
It was like adorable. Love it.
It is. I noticed like my second time watching with subtitles on when Guy is talking to his ex on the balcony. His ex's name is Lady.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Which is very funny.
I told you, Lady.
Yeah. Because I heard I told you, Lady, and I was like, oh, he's just saying Lady, but then it's like capitalized, and he says it again, and I was like, oh,
it's very funny.
Which is funny.
Guy and Lady.
Yeah, and then
Guy. And one of my favorite ongoing jokes from BoJack is like the corporate, conglomeration, like the Toyota, Skynet, Halliburton, Trader Joe's, whatever it's called. That it got even more corporations by this season.
Do they say Disney, or are they not allowed to? I feel like they wouldn't be allowed to.
Like Disney would sue them.
Yeah, or Disney. Yeah, or they would get pissed. They would buy them out.
They would buy out like Netflix and then.
I'm surprised they haven't, actually.
Well, they made their own.
Yeah, they're making their own streaming service, so that tells me that they weren't able to, and they just want to be competitors, which is kind of...
Yeah, they bought Hulu.
For once,
doesn't make any sense. Are they buying Hulu and it's still
They already owned Hulu, and they're making their own streaming service, which is strange.
They make Hulu into their own streaming service?
Well, see, that's the thing. That would make sense. Well, the thing is, usually competition is good.
Well, it's good for, like... us, not for
right. Usually, well, that's the thing is usually competition is good, but right now it feels like it's just kind of killing the streaming.
That's true. Well, it's because you gotta have. It feels like you gotta have all of them.
Anyway, right? Well, that's the thing is like now it's like it's like this popcorn's better than this popcorn. It's cheaper, so I'm gonna get this one. So that's where competition works good. But with like if it's like, but I want all the popcorn.
Right. Yeah. Then it's like, well,
it's like I just want to watch this specific show, but I also watch this specific show, and they're on 2 different services, so I need to get both. Anyway,
there's a little tangent about streaming services. My all-time favorite ongoing joke was also in this episode.
Which one is that?
Which is Diane's ringtone.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm such a public radio nerd that I just think all of them are hilarious. So when it was like, hi, this is Michael Barbaro from the New York Times, I just lost it. I was like, oh, thank you.
That's
and the
fact
that they like that they can get these people to come and do these little cameos.
Oh, is it actually them?
Yeah,
That's funny.
And they have to record it because it's like a little bit different. So they, I just love it. I think it's very funny. Like they did. I was trying to remember all of them and I can't, so I don't know why I'm saying this.
I think there's like a gift set.
Yeah, there is. But I'm not gonna look it up right now. One of them was Ira Glass, and he was like, like every phone has a story. And your phone's story is that it's ringing. I think that was season 1. There was a reference to the Serial podcast, with Sarah Koenig.
I like how you know their names by heart.
Of course I do. Look,
you're in the public radio podcast.
Oh, there was a Wait, Don't Tell Me one. With,
yeah.
I actually forget his name. Shoot. I was just listening to it today, too, as I was driving here. Siegel? Something Siegel.
Oh, you're looking at me like I know.
Sorry, I don't know.
I'm like, I don't know.
I love NPR. I'm a sustaining member.
I know you are. Speaking of, like, having them guest star, do you remember that ongoing joke before in early BoJack seasons where if they couldn't get the person, something terrible would happen to them?
It's so funny. I was kind of wondering, this is in the first episode, there was some, like, celebrity that was in rehab that was a real celebrity. I'm assuming. I didn't actually know who it was, but
I don't know their name.
They're like, no, I'm not so-and-so.
Oh,
she doesn't have an alcohol problem. I'm like, who is that?
That was something going back to episode 1 I thought was super funny, was like, he's obviously, like, in rehab for a role, and he's like, no, I'm Mario. And it's, like, making fun of, like, gritty reboots. Yeah. But, like, there's also been a live-action Mario movie.
Was it gritty?
Not very. No, it wasn't gritty, but it was bad.
It was not good.
It wasn't a good movie, and also I think it's kind of, I don't know if this was, well, the Sonic live action movie's been in the works for a few years now, so they might be also shitting on Sonic. But anyway, just going back to that.
and I guess this is sort of their, social commentary episode of the season. I feel like it's always, kind of woven throughout, but they always have, like, one episode that's, like, very focused on, gun control or, like, abortion, like that. This one is sort of... All I'm saying
is, if we had the pumped up kicks, maybe we could run from the guns.
I know you love that
That's the funniest joke.
So, this one was kind of that. Like, they had this little bit about, vertical integration.
Yeah.
And,
I learned more from, like, the little video segment in this episode than I did in my economy class in high school.
Real shit. And just the idea that there's no true, feel-good stories under capitalism, because even this, small business they find eventually will get bought out or will sell out, and it's like, ugh.
Right, and then there's, like, Diane always kind of has, like, this commodified feminism going on.
Yeah. Where, like, the idea of, like, anything that women do is feminism.
Right,
like,
right.
And kind of, like, mocking, like, that, that idea of, like, wow, like, there's a female CEO of a horrible corporation.
Right.
Girl power.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Which is such a great thing to, like, have in this show, because I feel like it hasn't been explored a lot.
No, I don't think so either. TV, so I'm really glad that it has that. So I really love when, so the thing is, like, Tuca and Birdie, the other show that a lot of the BoJack people team worked on, I loved it so much because they did a lot of stuff with the animation style. But something BoJack did in here that made me think of it is they go into, like, a rubber hose animation with the White Whale Company segment, and I thought that was so cute, and I loved it a lot, even though he was talking about, like, fucking eating up companies.
It was very cute.
Yeah, I thought
and it's fun to see them, do different styles and get to kind of flex.
Like, well, it's cute. Stuff like that is really nice, and I liked it a lot. It's fun to see. And then directed by Brad Bird.
Yeah. I love when they don't even have to change something to make it an animal pun. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah, I do too.
Never gets old.
It doesn't.
Another joke in this that was very funny was when the person they were meeting with
the Tribune woman,
the art
journalist.
Yeah, was like, white whale is my green light at the end of the tunnel.
What?
Yeah.
It's a Gatsby reference. Read a book. And there's like
the
Moby Dick painting behind her.
It was very funny.
It was very funny. So
this show is funny. Have you heard?
Have you heard? It's a comedy. This episode kind of shows. I really like the idea of, like, I don't think BoJack physically shows in this episode, actually. Wait, does he?
Oh, good. Yeah. We just watched it, but can we remember? No.
Well, wait. I'm kind of trying to remember because I think it takes.
Do they ever talk on the phone or not? It's only the letters.
No, it's only the letters.
Yeah, maybe it's just the voiceover from the letters. Probably.
Well, wait. What was the B plot of this episode?
The B plot. Let me look at our notes. Was there?
Did it take Did it all take place in Chicago? We just watched
None of our notes, we literally just watched this like an hour ago, but none of our notes are about, like, any B-plot or any other characters, so I think it all took place in Chicago. Let us know if we're wrong.
It must have, because...
I feel like that makes sense.
Well, if I'm remembering correctly and it doesn't show BoJack, I like the idea that BoJack is just, like, a narrator, kind of, where like, with his letters.
Just, like, hammering on the themes.
Yeah.
It's like, do you get it?
Do you understand the themes?
But,
there's a lot of Diane and BoJack parallels specifically in this episode.
Always gets to me.
Yeah, which is, like, oh... Well, okay.
Well, this is something
I'll put a pin... What were you going to say?
Well, are you going to go into this one?
Well, I was actually going to put a pin into that because I just remembered something I was going to say. So, when Guy when Guy gives BoJack... BoJack? Guy and BoJack!
Ooh.
Hot shit! BoJack. Guy Jack.
Oh, God.
So, when Guy gives Diane her jacket, and she's like, is this your way of asking me to stay in Chicago? And he's like, no, not everything has to be, like, a message or something. That made me think of how Mr. Peanut Butter, like, everything was symbolic, or he always did big
did big
gestures for Diane, which of course was like a big thing that she hated, and she's like expecting Guy to do it, and it kind of sounds like she misses it almost.
Yeah, like, I mean, maybe there's something in her that, like, wants that.
Yeah.
Oh, she's sort of... Oh, thank you.
I didn't say I liked it.
I'm getting bullied.
I like your
my own YouTube channel.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah, isn't that how YouTube works?
Yeah. What were we saying? Oh, yeah,
big gestures.
The grand gestures. I think, like, she's such a romantic who doesn't want to admit that she's a romantic.
Because it's anti-feminist.
Yeah. So she, like, kind of wants, like, maybe this big gesture where he's like, stay.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that.
Right.
But that's probably better for her in the end, though, is to not have that.
Right, exactly.
Long term, yeah.
But, so going back to, her and BoJack's parallels, like, when he does give her the jacket, he's like, you're so into punishing yourself every time you get cold, I have to, give up my coat, so, like, I'm also cold, and that's the same kind of way with BoJack, like, he doesn't want to help himself, so he would, like, bring other people down, which is something he realizes.
Yeah, and I like that metaphor a lot, that she, like, wouldn't buy a coat, like, she wouldn't, like, let herself be happy.
Yeah.
Or, like, let herself act like she was gonna stay in Chicago, which, like, is, I guess, sort of, like, a symbol for, like, happiness in this episode, is, like, you know, giving into what she wants.
Yeah.
She wouldn't, like, allow herself to take that step.
Yeah.
And because of that, now, you know, Guy has to kind of pick up the slack and, like,
right, exactly.
make things more comfortable for her.
I like in Diane's head where it's like, I'm not going to buy a coat even though I'm in the Midwest right now, because it's going to make him think I want to stay in the Midwest. But also, you're right, you're going to be in this city for, like, at least a week. Buy a fucking coat.
I know.
She's like, why is it snowing in October? And I'm like, lady, that's the Midwest.
Lady.
Get the fuck back into LA. Fuck off. I don't want to hear about this shit.
LA,
we're from Minnesota.
Didn't she grow up in, like, Boston?
She grew up in Boston.
She should know better.
Yeah, she really should. You're honestly right. She just represses that. But and we're kind of thinking about this. I think there's, like, a better term for this, but, like, Diane definitely has, like, that existential kind of depression where because you know how the world is. Yeah. Like, you know the world sucks, so you kind of, like, you're like, how can I be happy when big corporations are gobbling each other up and people are dying and healthcare is in the shit, and billionaires can kill each other or kill people kill each other. They should. Maybe that's how the series ends. Ooh, hot take. Billionaires can kill for free.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, that's always been the thing with her. She's always been so concerned about the kind of larger social issues and, like, not really allowing herself to be happy in her own life because of that. And I like Diane.
And I'm trying to think if that's, like, been an issue since her introduction, or if that kind of stems from, like, when her character went to, I don't fucking remember.
Oh, when she went to that war place
with the white tiger that would... Yeah. And she kind of... Because I know she was like, I want to do some good in the world. And then she went out to the world and she's like, oh, the world is really, really, really bad. And I don't know if I can make a difference.
Being... Yeah. So, like, disillusioned, and then she ends up getting a job tweeting for celebrities, and you can't act like you're better than everyone.
Oh, I remember, yeah. Oh, yeah, because then that leads to the abortion episode where she tweets out that Sextina Aquafina's pregnant.
Yeah. So this kind of struggle between, like, where she wants to do the right thing, but it's so hard, and it always, you know, takes a big personal toll on her.
I think that's the other thing too, is like and there's this, like, idea of good guys versus bad guys, and I think both BoJack and Diane struggle with wanting to see themselves as the good guy, and then that comes to a head in last season where BoJack is like referencing back in season 1, I need you to tell me I'm good, I need you to tell me if I'm a good guy or bad guy, and Diane's like, there's no such things as good or bad guys. I think we're just guys. Doing shit. That's what she. And then she. and then she makes her ex-husband cheat on his. There's no such things as good or bad guys. Immediately has an affair. Yeah.
There were a couple Wait, no, there weren't. I keep getting that confused with
I think it was like there was 2 scenes with the
affair. that was like last season. And I get that confused with like the rooftop scene in like season 1. What did she say in that scene? That's one of my other favorite
to BoJack
scenes. Yeah,
I think she says something similar. No, she says there is no such thing as deep down.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That's what she says. Because he's like, I need to be told, like, I know I can be selfish and narcissistic and insecure, but I need to be told deep down, I'm a good guy.
And she says there's no such thing as deep down.
Yeah.
Like, all that you are is the things that you do.
Yeah.
Which, like, so much, like,
which
shows
cuts BoJack.
her own... Like, it's about her own, motivation for wanting to do, like, important work, because she can't be a good person unless she walks the walk,
Right, and then BoJack, on the other hand, can't be told you're just what your actions are, because all of his actions are shit.
Yeah, that's, like, the worst thing
he needs to believe in deep down.
Yeah. They have that kind of, fundamental difference in kind of the way that they view, like, what it means to be, like, a good person.
Yeah.
But they do have a lot of similarities as well. Wig. Oh, so we were talking about the thing where, Congress legalized murder if you're rich. And Marissa was like, I wonder if this is going to circle back and become part of the main plot in the last part of the season.
Well, because sometimes they do that where jokes like this, like, I think the gun control thing, like, circled back into the main plot somehow, or, like, very small, like, throwaway jokes like that will circle back. Like the spaghetti strainer
spaghetti strainers being the most
and because like how the season is going
or some big thing at the end of the season
where they're gonna, but I hope they don't do that, because it would let BoJack off the hook, and that's what he desperately does not want,
right? Like, specifically, like, to say, like, if he were on trial for Sarah Lynn's, death, or if there was something raised about that this would be a defense, like, because he's rich, that he doesn't have responsibility for it.
Right, exactly.
Which, would be kind of cruel for him, because
that's but I could problem. See the show going that way, and then BoJack being like, no, cancel me.
Yeah,
like,
cancel me.
Cancel me.
Begging pots and pans together.
BoJack starts the,
BoJack is canceled hashtag.
BoJack is canceled hashtag. That's funny.
And, like, speaking of, like, the letters from BoJack just, like, being like, these are the thieves. These are the thieves. I love the part when he's like, was it worth it? Was it worth it to be happy for a little bit, just for it to end up sad, or would it have been better if the whole thing had never happened?
Yeah. And BoJack's, like, relating that back to rehab.
Something that happened. Yeah.
Well, because that, and, like, it's kind of looking at the broader aspect of rehab. Like, would it have been better if I tried this and was, like, better for a little bit after rehab, or not have done it at all? Is kind of how I read it.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Of, like, this might just be temporary, and that's a big problem with, like, BoJack and the way that he views happiness.
Is he views it as temporarily?
Well, he can't view it like
He
wants it to be, like, a permanent, state, and
right.
Like, one of my favorite lines is when, like, Anna Spanakopita says to him about, like, winning the Oscar, because he's like, this isn't gonna make me happy forever. Like, he gets into this whole existential angst about, like, I'm probably just gonna go back to being miserable, and she's like, yeah, but it'll be a really good night. Like,
right,
you'll have a good night, you'll have fun. And, like, you'll be sad again in your life, obviously.
Right, and that's the thing, is, like, BoJack is consistently looking for that, is where he needs his happiness to be, like, forever. And he always thinks that. He always thinks, like, if I do this role, I'm going to be happy. Like, isn't there a line where it's like, if you get this role, you're going to be happy. If you get this Oscar nomination, you're going to be happy.
Right.
But it's like, he realizes, it doesn't work.
And that's, like, he pushes people away, because that's, like, the greatest risk, too, is, like, this relationship could end, could end badly. Like, I could, screw it up. So I'm just gonna destroy it myself. I'm not gonna try, because it's just gonna hurt in the end.
Right, exactly.
But it could make you happy for a little bit.
Right. And then how does he? Oh, yeah, he kind of ends it with, like, I always thought, like I'm just gonna end up miserable. Might as well.
Yeah. Like, I assumed that was the only way to be. Like, to be miserable. Which is very similar with, Diane, who as, Guy says, like,
doesn't let herself be happy.
You just, like, punishing yourself. You don't want to feel good. So it's like, these guys, man.
These guys.
They got some issues.
Hey, girl. No, it's Guy. Hey, Guy. Wait, the B plot for this was wait, never mind. The B plot, it was for episode 2 where they get the movie or the TV show for Birthday Dad.
Yeah.
Never mind.
No, I don't think that.
No, I don't think.
Tell us if we're wrong.
It's very rare for BoJack episodes to be
like to be fully on one.
Yeah, it's usually not like that or it's like in like one area.
Yeah, there's usually Todd is doing some bullshit in the background.
Todd B plot. Chavez. I almost said Sanchez. I can't believe Todd and Morty. Stop. Morty deserves Todd as a grandpa.
As a grandpa?
He really does.
Like a 27-year-old grandpa.
Yeah. Oh, I always forget how young Todd is.
Oh, he's probably pretty young.
Wait. Can I just mention a joke that we forgot about last episode? Is when PC calls Todd and he's like, I was wondering if I would hear you Todd-day. Yesterday, I thought maybe I will hear you tomorrow. I can't get the joke out.
That was a little rough.
No, let me get.
All right, go. I think she's trying to do a bit, guys. All right, let's just wait.
Bobo, go. Go bye-bye for JoJo. That's a no. Check this out.
Well done.
This fucking joke kills me. It's the funniest joke in the entire show. Okay.
Well, yeah, this is obviously why we had to split this up into 3 episodes, because there's a lot to say.
Yeah.
And it'll probably kind of help us get through the little hiatus a little bit if we space these out every week, or there'll be 3 of them. I think we're going to do 3 episodes and 3 more, and then the last 2, plus our predictions and what we think is going to happen in the last 8 episodes.
We were kind of talking about this too, because the trailer for this season is like all of this parts that was shown already.
Oh yeah, so, we didn't like fact check that, but I feel like it's true.
I feel like it is.
Let us know if we're wrong. We were gonna rewatch it and be like, is that true?
Yeah, but anyway, if they do another trailer, we'll talk about if they put out a trailer. I don't know if they're gonna put out a trailer though.
They put out a trailer, but it's just like,
it's just
like something really
Bobo
ominous.
Go bye-bye for Joe. It's just that scene.
You're like, yeah, we already saw this.
Yeah, that's the trailer. This is part 2 coming out in January.
You're like, all right, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. Bobo. Can I just I need to rewatch that scene.